We are on our way to find some food and explore a little bit.
Now that truck is parked.
It's a pretty impressive park job. Pretty impressive. This city is full of color. It's so pretty. Okay, going in our first tunnel. We had heard this was the long tunnel. We didn't realize how long. We've already been walking for at least 5 minutes, maybe longer. I don't know, I'm not timing it. But there is no end in sight. It's pretty cool though. They've got sidewalks on both sides of the road. Oh, a little wet right here. So it's a safe walk and the cars can go past too. Lots of people are walking through. Some people with pizza, some people with some other carry out, bringing their dinner back home. Tunnel intersection. Another intersection. Really impressive.
Yeah.
Is this another reinforced area?
Yeah.
Oh. Here we are. Okay.
We strolled around town until we found some tasty tacos for dinner.
It must be a festival, or maybe there's a parade. We're not sure, but there are all kinds of people. There have been all kinds of costumes. We've seen Mickey and Minnie. We saw a Transformer. We saw Batman. Lots of fun stalls. Lots of glittery and painted Easter eggs. Fun toys, lots of yummy food. All the things. I think we've made our way out of the crowd. Heading back to the camper.
So today's project has been a little bit of a pain. What we were doing was replacing the bushings in our Lagun table. Over time, from the cats jumping on them and moving it around so many times, these bushings eventually cracked. And what that caused was a bunch of slop when we were moving the table around. So it was very wobbly and not very stable. I actually flipped the bushings over once to make them last longer. But it was finally time to go ahead and replace them. So I got some aftermarket replacement bushings shipped to my parents' house, and when we went back home for the wedding in February, we picked them up and brought them back with us. The aftermarket bushings, I don't know if they were like this out of the factory or what, but they almost seemed a little bit too big, so we really had to pry on these crevices to get enough clearance to get the bushing to go in. But we should have a lot more stable of a table now that the bushings are replaced, as long as I can get everything back in. It's a tight fit, as you can see. Getting the bushing to go down on that peg is not a lot of clearance there. Probably grab my hammer out there rather than beating the crap out of my hand, but that's what we got going on today. You can see how it cracked. And then when it collapsed in on itself like that, that's where we got all the slop in the table. So definitely a little bit of a flaw, but maybe it just happens with wear. Let's see, it's very smooth, and even out on the end there's not hardly any slop. Before we replaced the bushings, if you had the table out like this, it would be at a pretty good angle. So if you had like anything sitting on here, if you're moving the table around, we were all the time swinging the table around, and then you'd lose your water bottle or whatever you had on the table. Or the cats would jump down, and it's kind of like a springboard and launch everything off. So hopefully these last a while longer, because I don't think we'll be able to get them shipped to Mexico.
Or beyond.
or beyond. So we'll see.
Later that day, we made our way over to the Guanajuato Funicular. The funicular is a fun and easy way to get up to the Pipila Monument and to get a bird's eye view of the city. The short ride up and down only takes a few minutes, and the views from the top are truly a feast for the eyes.
Talk about some pretty views.
Locals and travelers alike seem to come up there to enjoy the sunset. As we went up, David had wondered if the funicular cars pulled each other up and down the hill using a pulley system, given that there are only 2 cars and they seem to always be moving in the opposite direction. Well, a quick Google search suggests that David's theory is correct. We strolled through town before finding some dinner and a nightcap.
New tunnel today. A few different options. We're out for another day of exploring. The sidewalk is a little small in some spots. Talk about another pretty area.
We walked through a small market and then found a spot for lunch.
Tu imagen tiene una vela siempre prendida en tu honor. Y cargo yo tu.
Well, that was a yummy lunch with some music. I think all in total we paid, including our tip for the music, about 150 pesos, which is really not bad. It's quite tasty. I tried a new drink, which I think was called elote.
Actually, it's atole. Elote is a grilled Mexican street corn.
It's a maize drink,
Actually, it's pronounced maíz, not maize.
and it also had some guayaba in it, which is a fruit.
At least I was 1 for 3. Guayaba is a fruit, and it goes by the name of guava in English.
So now we're winding our way over to an interesting museum. We definitely get our exercise walking around these streets. So most of them are uphill or downhill. And with the elevation we're at, which I want to say is maybe around 6,000 feet, you get out of breath pretty quick. Here's a clue for where we're going. We've made it!
The following content involves death and graphic images of human decomposition, which may not be appropriate for all viewers. If you or somebody watching with you may find these concepts unsettling or triggering, please skip ahead. The Mummy Museum of Guanajuato is interesting, unusual, and yes, also quite morbid. The mummies of Guanajuato have an equally morbid backstory. From 1865 to 1958, residents of Guanajuato were required to pay a gravesite fee for their deceased relatives, and in instances where families were several years behind in payments, the remains of their relatives were exhumed. Often, those exhumed corpses were found in well-preserved, mummified form, so many so that a museum was later created. It's still uncertain why so many naturally mummified bodies have been found in this cemetery, be it the quality of the soil, its mineral content, or the environment. But it sheds a unique perspective on death as well as the human body. I think it's a good reminder that we are among the living, and a good reminder to not only live, but to live to the fullest.
Getting a little bit shaky and hot and tired after walking to the grocery, so we had to stop and get a little treat and a rest. Well, we went to the grocery. Probably not the best idea since it's a Saturday. We thought we could get an Uber on the way back, so we were about 30 minutes away. There were no Ubers to be had or taxis, so we were walking. It's a hot walk, a little sweaty, up and down these hills. But we'll get there. Looks like we have a little break. There's a truck that stopped back there, so we're gonna wait. Almost there. Just up this big hill. Here we are.
We made it to the top of the hill.
Okay, we're about to eat dinner. David made some yummy looking burgers, and we're having them on croissants because we don't have buns, and it's more fun than regular bread. But it's a very special night because we're opening our prized pickle jar. Do you know why this is so exciting? Because we haven't found pickles in Mexico prior to finding these pickles. There's pickled jalapenos and pickled onions, all kinds of things like that, like spicy things, but pickles like this, hard to come by. So we're very excited, and we thought it might be a treat to tell you about it too, because who would have thought? You can't find pickles here. We're gonna enjoy those pickles with our burgers. Bon appetit! All right, it's time to leave this pretty spot. A little sad, but more good to come.
If you liked this video, let us know by liking and subscribing. And don't forget, you can see more of the journey on Instagram and TikTok. Cheers, friends!